support. Over the past few months, we've been working to raise funds for our upcoming mission trip, but we still need a few $1,000s to meet our goal. Our target is $8,000. Even by providing $12, you will make a difference.
Okay.
So yes, you read that and thought about me, huh?
What about the Sterling Fund?
The Sterling. Do you have that article in front of you?
Yeah.
Go ahead, you can do that one.
Sterling Fund helps to send South Orange Maplewood students to camp. For the past 45 years, the Sterling Fund at the South Orange Maplewood Middle School has awarded scholarship to students to attend Cape Cod Sea Camps, also known as Camps Monomoy and Wono in Brewster, Massachusetts. Did you know about these before? Okay. This scholarship fund was created in 1968 by Raymond and Louis Sterling, the principal and vice principal at South Orange Junior High School, as South Orange Middle School was known at that time. Raymond Sterling served as principal at South Orange Junior High School for 21 years. Although the Sterling worked together at the school, the students did not know they were married because Mrs. Sterling went by her maiden name, Fornoff. The Sterling spent many summers volunteering as counselors at the camp. The Sterling Fund Committee selects students who would not necessarily have the opportunity to attend the camp without the scholarship. South Orange Maplewood Home and School Association co-president Jesse Wendt wrote in an email, campers learn practical skills such as swimming. The camp also fosters their interpersonal skill, helping them with transition to high school. In the past, it was possible to send more than one student at a time to the camp. However, due to decline in interest rate, the fund has decreased in recent years, and currently only one student can be selected to attend the Cape Cod Sea Camp each year. The fund is administered by the South Orange Middle School front office manager, Bernadine Smith, and then they have a video about created by South Orange Middle student Adam Dewberry while he was in 8th grade to raise awareness and generate funds for the scholarship. You can also donate by going to the Sterling Fund. So there you have it, something very similar to what you want to do for kids of color in this community.
Yes, it is. The other problem, I think, that in the community is that a lot of, I'm glad this church is doing this. I don't know how many other mission projects they've done, and students are gone for the spring break, which is important. But also the summer break was when a lot of our students, all students lose a little bit of what they've learned. I sort of understand why many legislators are behind the initiative to extend the school year as well as the school day, because people believe that the learning should stop after 6 hours. Luckily, I'll be retired when they make that decision. But, there's got to be something. And I was talking to one of my students today, and she was like, well, we don't have the money for that. I always wonder if it's right to compare students in Staten Island with students here in South Orange Maplewood, but that there are people with similar circumstances. Not only the knowledge, or the affordability is an issue, but also the knowledge that you have to do something with your child during the summer rather than to have them walk around town and not, or just go to the pool, which is a fine place to be, but a lot of the time it's unsupervised because a lot of most parents are probably working, not unless. I see a program here, Quest Bridge, that provides scholarships to select summer programs at selective colleges through their College Prep Scholarship Program and the Get Out Fund, which I will start, and you will help, and those of us who are helping with this endeavor. I'm not, looking to do this for any specific grade point average. Not necessarily.
Are you going to do this for black kids? Or you?
I'm interested in people of color. So even though you're either black or white here, so
what is this people of color politically
I don't know, because
correct?
What if somebody is mixed, or
it's funny. We got to stop with this, seriously.
Okay.
We got to stop trying to mix us up with all these different type of connotations a people of color, African American, black, Afro Trinidadian. It's like a bunch of mixed up. You putting up callaloo. You ever heard of callaloo? Callaloo is something from the Caribbean. It's like you mix all that stuff up in mix it up.
Like belly forward.
Yeah. What's wrong with black?
Okay, for black. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is not.
There's nothing wrong with black.
Yeah, there's nothing against anybody. It's just like people are. Anyway.
Okay. Which also leads us into this discussion of black Americans and their lack of travel. I ran into this article. I don't know if it was somebody put it on my Facebook or if, I just happened to be running into this.
Yeah.
But what's keeping black students from studying abroad? According to this, byline here, or headline, sub-headline, whichever, only 5% of those in the U.S. who travel internationally for college are African American, and that's a problem for everyone.
Only what?
5% of all those students who travel abroad.
Wow.
You can walk through any college, in any school, or college at a university, and there are, study abroad signs everywhere, all the time. And this is a statistic about racial disparity that you haven't heard much about. Only 5% of African or Americans who study abroad are black, according to the Institute of International Education. This is a gap that's especially dizzying considering the fact that more blacks are in higher education than ever before. So how big of a problem is this really? Not only does this lack of travel translate into a dearth of blacks in international careers and leadership positions. For example, within the State Department, there are a few blacks in top diplomatic posts and thus few who grapple with the pressing foreign policies issues, but also miss opportunities for the community that's poised to benefit from them the most. This sounds like my thesis. I swear this is exactly what I wrote. And that was like 15 years ago. In terms of economics and cultural enrichment, blacks perhaps stand to gain the most from education abroad. Bloomberg released a report last year that shows that student loans aren't colorblind. In comparison to other racial groups, blacks are more likely to look at student loans to foot the educational bill and less likely to pay off those debts later. Gaining a top shelf education abroad where college is typically cheaper, consider Germany, where universities stop charging fees, could alleviate this financial weight and potentially allow some students to pursue advanced degrees without taking on crippling debt. Losing out on cultural interaction abroad also could mean losing out on a job prospect and other benefits. And these missed opportunities don't just harm individuals, they also rob society of social capital. If traveling abroad breeds cosmopolitanism, even in the broadest sense, then everybody's better off if blacks contribute to this shared aim too. The grim reality of this 5% problem is that it also excludes blacks from gaining some important perspectives. According to Zem Ugokuchu, 26-year-old creator of Travel Noir, a digital publishing platform that creates tools and resources for the unconventional traveler. This man is a young entrepreneur and the daughter of two Nigerian immigrants to America. She has said she was inspired to start the platform after meeting people of color who were dubious about the practicality of traveling abroad and worried about an experience beyond Americans' borders might entail for a different sort of globetrotter. She founded Travel Noir in 2013, and she's at the vanguard of what's coming to be known as the Black Travel Movement. This burgeoning movement might just be what's needed to spark a different mindset among black Americans because, in her words, when you see somebody who looks like you doing something you never thought you could do, then that thing becomes possible. Plus, there's what some might call the mental freedom of traveling, whereby it's possible to experience being black without paying the heavy mental tax that race demands in America. As a black traveler, I seek liberation through exploration, and I find myself seeming freer, at least in mind and heart, on the road rather than at home. Someone recently wrote for the New York Times, traveling while black, to put it plainly, shows everyone that skin color shouldn't be so divisive. This shouldn't simply imply that race isn't only an issue for black Americans at home, but abroad, away from rooted defensiveness. Racial differences often play out in such a way that they create empathy, not alienation. All this to say, it isn't hard to see how racial disparities are problems for individuals. But less clear-cut is when disparities spill over. They're also problems for our entire society. Not least because they potentially deny it some of the best ideas, skills, and talents. So how might the country move closer to extinguishing this disparity? One obstacle to tackle is accessibility. Going abroad is typically seen as belonging only to those who have the financial means to do so. And to an extent, this is true. Plane tickets and hostels alone can add to pretty hefty price tags. Fortunately, there are many programs that try to surmount financial hurdles for minorities, including the Public Policy and International Affairs Fellowship and the Charles Rangel International Affairs Program, the latter of which is run in collaboration with Howard University, a historically black college. Programs like these are key, but throwing money at blacks in colleges won't vanquish another fundamental problem. What's also needed is a perception shift. For many black Americans, not seeing someone who's like us abroad can produce a paralyzing disincentive to go. But how would you know you're not going to see someone who's like you if you don't go? How do you know that's not going to happen?
Perception.
So you're going to say, I'm going to go and I'm not going to see anybody who looks like me?
Because they don't know.
There's a pipeline problem too, fueling a desire to go abroad and stressing the added value of doing so must start early in communities and schools and be leveraged by mentors. If not, then programs that, at least in word, prize cultural diversity can be stripped off their power. Mm-hmm. In other words, it's important to have an eye toward creating a more holistic institutional approach. This is what I intend to do. For this unconventional traveler, picking up and moving to different places has yielded powerful high notes from a subconscious realization that black Americans can, as former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton pointed out, play a critical role in telling America's story. That's right. To a measured articulation that, for blacks, love of country is indeed complicated. But most of all, traveling has proven to me that there's simply too much to be gained on the road for me to stay home. And I can attest to that because there's nothing. Look, I'm like getting excited. There's nothing like getting out of here. There really isn't, Ansel. And you do sort of need to see someone who looks like you. Mm-hmm. And when you see them, you just get so happy. So when you pass these people here and down or on the street like I or whatever, you may or may not speak. But when you're in some foreign country and, no one looks like you, mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about in an African country, but like, my trip to Vietnam after 2 weeks, it's like if I could just see one black person, I would be so happy. Now, after the first week, I don't know, because it's like when no one looks like you. No one.
Yeah.
And so, wait a minute. You run into people, other people who know that you're an American, who are also Americans, and they'll talk to you. Mm-hmm. Or like the first person I ended up talking to was this German guy who mm-hmm. I ended up hanging out with a lot of the time. But it was like the last 2 days. And I was on this boat, somewhere in the middle of this trip. I was on a boat. And I was standing there, and I saw one black person. That person saw me also from the other side. We were waiting to get on this boat. Mm-hmm. And they're far away. We spotted each other, Mm-hmm. And the guy, he wasn't even black. He was like Hispanic from California. I'm like, okay, we'll give you a pass. Mm-hmm. And then this one day, it's like if I could just, I turned on the television because I just thought everything was going to be in Vietnamese. And there was Oprah and Danny Glover. And I was like, okay, I really do exist. But then finally, but that was just television. So, okay, that kept me for a minute, but I didn't want to watch television. And so I'm sitting in this cafe that they're outside. The electricity had gone out or whatever. I'm drinking some coffee. And this big black man, who's a Trinidadian actually, walked past me. And he spoke to me in French, and I'm like, nah, I don't speak French.